Hello, and welcome to Internet Archaeology, the podcast where we dive into nostalgia, weird internet stories, and forgotten games. I am your host, Emma Tanner, a 20-something-year-old college student who grew up chronically online. Now, you may have noticed a little change in tune here, and that's because we're talking about some of my favorite types of video games. I hope you enjoy, and let's dig up some dead media. Picture this. You're 9 years old and you just got home from school. You rush through your homework while your mom prepares dinner, all so you can do one thing. You crack open your shiny new Nintendo 3DS and dive into the whimsical world of Animal Crossing New Leaf. So what, you're in 3rd grade. You're a mayor now and you're in debt to an anthropomorphic raccoon. And you know what? You love it. Animal Crossing was first released in Japan as Debutsu no Mori. To save any confusion between referring to the franchise and referring to the first game, I'm going to call the first one Debutsu no Mori. It was released in 2001 for the Nintendo 64 and GameCube. It reached American audiences in 2002 after some localization and became a critical and commercial success. The game follows a relatively simple gameplay compared to the later releases in the franchise. Players assume the role of a new resident in town of anthropomorphic animals and customize their gender and looks based on answers given to a cat named Rover on the train ride over. From there, players complete tasks and goals for rewards like sizing up their home, gaining bells, the game's version of money, and buying from the local shop. Speaking of the local shop, the loved and hated Tom Nook makes his first appearance as the owner. Players go into debt fairly early into the game after getting a mortgage from the raccoon. As their houses expand, the debt goes deeper. Now, Tom Nook is a play on the word tanuki, which is Japanese version of a raccoon, and in the American version, he is a raccoon, but his name is still Tom Nook, which I think is kind of cute, and it kind of calls back to his original intended species. Other characters that make an appearance in Debutsu no Mori are a cranky mole named Mr. Rossetti, Don Rossetti, Mr. Rossetti's brother, who encourages the player to save their game, and a total of 6 villagers that live in the town with you. Each villager has one of 6 personality types: lazy, jock, and cranky for males, normal, peppy, and snooty for females. I also think it's cute that the villagers have set birthdays and star signs, and little celebrations happen for them if you happen to be on the game in those days. An interesting aspect about Animal Crossing is that it utilizes real-time play. The passage of time is the same in the game and real life. This also means that if you leave your game for an extended period of time, villagers will notice. So maybe check on your DS save files. Other Animal Crossing releases are Wild World for the DS in 2005, City Folk for the Wii in 2008, New Leaf for the 3DS in 2012, and New Horizons for the Switch in 2020. I skipped over the free-to-play, DLC, and mobile releases because there are a good bit of those. Starting with New Leaf, the players play as a mayor rather than just another villager. Games also have a multiplayer aspect to them, which started with Debutsu no Mori. New Horizons diverted from the village aspect, instead tasking players to be the mayor of an island. The island is deserted, and you, the player, need to fix it up. Islands have 6 fruit options: apples, cherries, coconuts, peaches, pears, and oranges. There are also 2 new personality types that were introduced in New Leaf, which were the smug type for boys and the big sister type for girls. You're given 2 random villagers that reside on the island with you. One of them does have the big sister type, and the other one has the jock type. Collecting fruit and wood, catching fish, and digging up fossils can make you a profit, and if you have enough cash, you can upgrade your tent to a house. This, of course, puts you in debt to Tom Nook, and so do any expansions you want. But luckily you can sell things. By completing tasks, you can earn Nook Miles, which can be exchanged for special items and travel tickets. Travel tickets take you to other deserted islands where you can collect new fruits and recruit new animals to live on your island. You can also donate fossils, insects, and fish to the museum, where a bug-fearing owl named Blathers serves as the curator. Completing certain wings and donating a certain amount can earn you Nook Miles too. Visiting Town Hall allows you to interact with Tom Nook, who you can pay off your debt and add new expansions with, and Isabelle, a Shih Tzu who you can make a town flag and tune with. She helps you set a curfew for the island. If you like late nights, you can make the villagers stay up later, and let you check the nicknames villagers have for you. She also gives a very adorable daily announcement every time you open the game. There, she updates you on upcoming events and birthdays, as well as if any visitors are at your campsite. Visitors are animals you can invite to live on your island, but you have to play a series of games to prove yourself. If you reach the limit of 10 villagers, you have to kick one out before inviting another. Over time and with effort, the island's tents and campsites become permanent houses and shops. Bridges are built and decorations help unify the aesthetic of your dream island. You can visit Isabel to see what your island rating is on a 1 to 5 star scale. Mine personally sits at 3 stars, but that's kind of expected. I haven't played in a few months and it's fallen into a bit of disarray. I haven't fully finished developing it, but it has the shop, fashion store, and museum, so that's enough for me. I think mine and a lot of people's favorite aspect of the game is the villagers. They all have unique designs and names and personalities. I have a bias towards the normal and peppy villager types. The big sister or Uchi personality type was introduced with New Leaf and has the character slowly open up and become like a big sister to the character. I just think that's really adorable, and the peppy and normal types tend to look up to them. Hazel was one of my starters, and I actually liked her a lot, though she's not one of the fan favorites. She's not on my island anymore, but she was a good addition. The villagers on my island right now are Apollo, a bald eagle with the cranky personality type, Dottie, a peppy rabbit villager who has a love of fashion, Meringue, a normal type rhinoceros villager. Her most unique feature is her pink color and strawberry design of her horn. Lucky is a dog with a lazy type personality. He looks like a mummy with one yellow eye showing. Sherb is another lazy type villager who is a blue goat. Raymond is a smug type cat who is gray and wears glasses. Tangy is a peppy type cat who looks like an orange, and she is my favorite villager if you're wondering. Rold is a sporty type penguin, and he is the only sporty type I will ever allow on my island because he is just that cute. Stella is a normal type pink sheep who is so sweet. Pinky is a pink and white peppy bear villager. She looks like a panda, and she's just so cute. I'm not as familiar with her as she moved in right before I stopped playing consistently. I actually forgot she was on my island until I opened the game to check in earlier today. I'm sorry, Pinky. The internet went crazy, and I mean crazy, over which villagers they had on their island. Raymond, the smug type cat I have on my island, started an internet craze over finding him and having him move in. I think he's cute, but I don't go too crazy for smug type villagers, and he's far from my favorite on the island. He's just a cat that wears a little waistcoat. Yeah, it's definitely cute, but he is an acquired taste. There's this copy pasta, a meme that is a block of text copied rather than a picture about him that went viral. It's a DM on Twitter and it reads, quote, "Hello, I have been following your tweets for the past 2 days, and I've come to the conclusion that you do not deserve to have Raymond on your island. He is my comfort character, and seeing him in an environment not meant for him brings me anxiety. So I will be expecting a reply to this DM where you have him in boxes and ready to relinquish him to someone who will treasure him like he deserves." End quote. Now, for the lingo there, in boxes means your character is moving out, and another player, if you have the Nintendo Online subscription, can come to your island and basically take them from you. You have to be friends with the person or at least have their village code. So it was kind of the biggest way to get the villager that you wanted. I personally do not have the Nintendo subscription, and I didn't really play with other people or care to do that, so it wasn't my thing, but people went insane over this cat, and I literally do not understand it. It was at the height of pandemic craziness, so maybe that can excuse it, but people were paying actual real life money to take him from someone's island. People had lists of dream villagers, and mine mostly stemmed from my time playing the Animal Crossing app Pocket Camp. Goldie was, and still is, my top dream villager because she was my companion in the app. I also really wanted Lolly the cat on my island, solely because I have a cat named Lolly, and I can't not have her on my island if I have a cat named Lolly. It was a crazy, fun, cozy time when I played the game. I logged in a lot of hours simply because there was nothing else to do with my days. I was a senior in high school, and my year had just gotten completely ruined. So, in order to cope, I played copious amounts of Animal Crossing. It's not new to say that Animal Crossing was an already widely popular game, but it boomed into popularity with the release of New Horizons in March of 2020. What else happened in March of 2020, you might ask? The COVID-19 pandemic and following lockdown. Crazy coincidence, I know. The COVID-19 pandemic ushered in a new era of escapism. People were embracing the simple things in life: baking bread, gardening and farming, health and wellness. The daily grind was eliminated and replaced by a love of simplicity. All of these things were great if you ignore the fact that we were in a global pandemic and lockdown. and the fact that millions of people were dying. It's a downer, I know, but I think people often get lost in the nostalgia of lockdown and ignore the pandemic part of it. But going back to simplicity and escapism, another game boomed with popularity around that same time. Stardew Valley was released February 26th of 2016 by indie game developer Eric Baroni, also known as Concerned Ape. The game was open-ended and allowed players to farm, fish, manage livestock, cook, mine, forage, and socialize with the townsfolk of Pelican Town. Socialization with townsfolk can lead to close friendship and marriage if you wish. You can also have kids with your chosen spouse, though they don't do too much. Stardew Valley openly rejects corporate systems in favor of small town, locally sourced communities. The big bad in the game is a corporation called JojaMart. There is one in town, but the local shop owner often complains about the negative effects on his business. Your player actually starts out as a worker in one of Joja's office locations and quits upon inheriting their grandfather's old farm. You get to name your farm, mine is Arcadia Farm if you're wondering, and wander around to greet the townsfolk. Exploring is a big part of the game, as Brony continuously expands certain game aspects. Your players can work away in the mines, finding ore and gems, and fighting monsters. They can go into Calico Desert after renovating the community center and fixing the bus. The desert has another set of mines called Skull Cavern, but instead of going to any level you want like you can in the ones in Pelican Town, you have to start at level 1 every time you enter. I won't spoil anything too much, but getting to level 100 is important, and it took me so long to do it, especially solo. I have a co-op farm with my boyfriend, and it was a little easier since we can take on the difficult monsters together and cover each other while mining. After repairing Lily's boat, which wasn't too hard for me, you can travel to Ginger Island. Again, not spoiling, but there is a lot you can do there. I'm still working on Ginger Island in my solo save, but I like that I'm constantly working towards something. I tend to abandon a game once I've completed the main storyline, but Stardew keeps me entertained. There are plenty of things you can do within Pelican Town too. You can fish on the beach, which is one of my favorite activities. Farming is obviously a big thing to do. Crops can go out of season, and if you don't have a greenhouse, they'll die on the first day of a new season. It took me so long to get a greenhouse, and now that I have one, I grow the most profitable crops and trees there. Marriage and friendships are big and actually help you complete objectives. Mayor Lewis and Robin are the first people you meet, but there are 45 villagers you can meet. Out of those 45, there are 12 people you can marry. I personally married Abigail, the local shop owner. She's chill and gives some good gifts. I don't have kids in the game because I keep forgetting to stock up on supplies and making a nursery despite having more than enough funds for it. It's one of my favorite relaxing, when you're not in Skull Cavern, games. I like the diversity and the endless activities you can do. Baroni developed the game over 4.5 years. He graduated from the University of Tacoma in Washington with a computer science degree. After being unable to find secure work, he took a job as an usher at Seattle's Paramount Theater. To improve his computer programming skills, he started working on Sprout Valley, which would eventually turn into Stardew Valley. He incorporated many elements of the Pacific Northwest into the game as he grew up there. He also took inspiration from a late 90s and early aughts game called Harvest Moon. Harvest Moon was recently rebranded into Story of Seasons. Stardew originally was going to be a fan-made spin-off of Harvest Moon, as Baroni was unhappy with how the later games had diverted too much from the original game. There, he added more to the game, and it quickly became its own thing. He was also inspired by Animal Crossing, Rune Factory, Minecraft, and Terraria. The game has a lot of similar crafting, combat, friendship, and quest features. Being the sole creator, Baroni created all of the pixel art, music, sound effects, and dialogue for the game. He redid the game multiple times, redoing story elements and character designs. He says he spent 10 or more hours a day working on it. He kept Twitter and Reddit communities updated on the development, and the game was popular well before its release. The game is available to play on Mac and Windows systems, as well as the Nintendo Switch. You can really tell how much love and time went into the game. Baroni regularly updates the game too, adding more content and features. The Stardew Valley community is still alive and well, much like the Animal Crossing community. There have been a lot of similar games to Stardew Valley that were dropped around or after its release. Games like Coral Island, Moonlighter, and Sunhaven have a clear Stardew inspiration, which isn't a bad thing. It's just created somewhat of a saturation in the cozy games market. Now, what constitutes a cozy game, and why are they so popular? GameIndustry.biz writer Colin Campbell says, quote, "Cozy games are generally regarded as featuring cute characters, often anthropomorphic animals or childlike humans, who engage in player activities such as farming, gathering, growing, and nurturing, with a vague goal of creating personalization and in-game socialization. Self-expression is core to the game's progression goals, which tends to be open-ended. End quote. Socialization is a key role in these games, and the art styles are usually comforting and colorful. They also have comforting or relaxing music as backing tracks. Nonviolence is an important feature. Games like Animal Crossing don't incorporate combat or defeating enemies, and instead focus on friendship cultivating. Of course, games like Stardew Valley and Minecraft do have combat, but it's not gory or overly violent. Enemies simply disappear and occasionally drop loot rather than falling into a pile of blood and guts. I'm looking at you, Baldur's Gate 3. Animal Crossing New Horizons really heralded in the new wave of cozy game obsession, and like I said, it's definitely tied to the COVID-19 pandemic and lockdown. People use the games for proms, weddings, graduations, birthday parties, you name it, it was done in Animal Crossing. Writer for Medium.com, Oceana Tepfenhart, says that cozy games, quote, give some kind of feeling of accomplishment, of control, of progress. In a world that often feels cold, uncaring, and unfair, that's incredibly comforting, end quote. The games often allow players to do things that they can't do in the real world. Can I get into cool diamond armor and fight a giant dragon? Nope, but I can do it in Minecraft. I can buy a mansion in The Sims 4 and become a celebrity. I can start a farm and explore mines in Stardew Valley. I can be the mayor of an adorable village of anthropomorphic animals in Animal Crossing. Sometimes simplicity is what is desired. Simply watering crops or looking for fossils is less stressful than going to your 9 to 5 and coming home to sleep. Mental health also plays a crucial role in cozy games and the desire to escape. Depression rates now are the same as they were in 1938. Alcohol mortality rates are the same as they were in the 1910s. Exposure to war, violence, and terror is more widespread and accessible than ever before. Social media is draining and full of comparisons. Instead of cracking open a bottle of booze to cope, I think it's better to play a silly little game with silly little creatures. People tend to find ways to blow off steam to make it through this crazy world. Cozy games are a way to do that and romanticize the little things in life. The internet can be scary, but your games don't have to be. That was Internet Archaeology, the podcast where we dive into nostalgia, weird internet stories, and forgotten games. Once again, I am your host, Emma Tanner. If you liked the show, feel free to give it 5 stars wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find me on Instagram at Internet Archaeology Pod, on Twitter at Internet Arc Pod, and on my website at www.emmaftanner.com. See you later.